If you started playing Dragalia Lost, then you probably have realized there is a lot to take in at the beginning. The game does a good job at guiding you through most of the ins and outs, but I wanted to share some of my tips for new players. I've hit level 50 playing a decent amount over the past week, and I like this game so far, which is why I want to make content for it. If you finished the main campaign levels, then you've probably picked up most of this stuff, but if you're a brand new player or just starting, then I hope you learn some helpful tips. Tip number 1. You don't lose stamina for failing. Most gachas that run on a stamina system will punish you for failing a level, but Dragalia Lost only really punishes you for the time you've wasted. If you think a new stage is too hard, just go try it out. If you fail, no worries, your stamina is safe to spend on another activity. Tip number 2, you can check what rewards come from each stage and you can see the element of the stage. In the bottom left corner of each stage is a tiny magnifying glass next to the suggested might levels. Tap it and you'll see the details for the stage, including objectives and challenges. Scroll down and you can see what the potential drop rewards are. This is helpful later on when you start needing higher level materials but are unsure which stage difficulty drops them. As for knowing the element of each stage, I actually didn't realize their symbols were right next to the stage title, so I just wanted to point that out to anyone who may have also missed that. Tip number 3, elemental advantages do matter. Make sure you understand the elemental advantage system. Fire is strong against wind, wind is strong against water, and water is strong against fire. As for light and dark, they are strong against each other and neutral to the other 3 elements. While you may not notice how much of a difference elemental advantage makes, trust me, you'll start to understand once your team of 3 fire adventurers starts dying on the water stages. With the elemental advantage, you deal more damage to the weaker element, and you'll also take less damage, which is really crucial when fighting harder bosses. Don't be the guy bringing a wind unit to fight the fire dragon. Tip number 4, 5-star adventurers are great, but don't let that discourage you if you don't get any. Now, as a gacha game, the drop rates for 5-star units is pretty low, and getting your hands on any of them will benefit you in some way. 5 stars have better stats than 3 or 4-star units, have stronger co-abilities, and most of them just flat out have better skills or passives once you unlock them. However, Dragalia Lost is a game with a real-time skill element to its gameplay. You can have the best units with the best stats, but if you get hit by every enemy attack, it won't matter because your team is dead. Because gameplay requires player input, a good player can use a slightly weaker unit and do just fine. It should also be noted that every unit can be promoted to 5 stars, and honestly from my experience, I think everyone is pretty darn usable. If you have a favorite character but they are only 3 stars, then my suggestion is to keep using them. Games are meant to be fun, and the best part of gachas are using your favorite characters. Tip number 5, summoning. I have a few tips regarding summoning. First off, there are a lot of different weapon types in Dragalia Lost, and each of them have different attack patterns and moves. You will receive free characters from the story such as Yuden, who uses a sword, or Ellie, who uses a lance, but there are also katana blades, daggers, and mages with wands. My suggestion is to try out each weapon type because you might find one that you like better. My second tip for summoning is to not underestimate a good healer. While you will receive Cleo as your free healer, if you can get your hands on Hildegard, who is a 5-star healer, then count yourself lucky. I know everyone wants to do big damage, but the experience of doing co-op with and without a good healer is noticeable. If you want another way of healing, then I would also suggest looking out for the 4-star dragon, Phoenix, who I'm not really sure it looks like a dragon, but whatever. Her dragon ability is a team healing buff that regens for a ridiculous amount of HP for a set amount of time. I highly recommend you use her if you get her, because I think she is a very valuable dragon. Tip number 6, gameplay. As the main aspect of Dragalia Lost, you'll need to sharpen your own gameplay to start clearing the tougher content. First off, probably my biggest game changer so far is learning that you can actually zoom out. This is so useful, especially for weapons that have a long reach, such as the lance or any of the ranged weapons. Just pinch your fingers inward and you'll get a much better view of the battlefield. For skills, you should probably know that they do not charge up passively. You have to use your standard auto attacks to fill the skill gauges, and this is another skill aspect of the gameplay. Always be hitting the boss and avoiding attacks, and you'll have more skills to use. Another tip is that skills grant invincibility frames while they are active. You can avoid a lot of trouble by properly timing your skills, and it's definitely something to keep in mind. However, it should be noted that you cannot dodge the purple zone attacks, even in your skill animations. These are the boss's most punishing attacks, and you will need to get out of them as fast as possible. A good example of having to be careful of skill usage is Ezelet's Howling Meteor. It's a very flashing move and lasts for a long time, but if you activate it just before the boss starts charging their purple attacks, then you won't be able to move her out of the way since your movement is limited as she finishes her attack. There are many things to learn about Dragalia's Lost gameplay, but it's definitely best to just play the game and learn more by yourself. However, one thing that can be a little annoying is hitting skills that go in a line and force strikes. My best advice is that if you want to give your unit the best chance to target the correct enemy, then input a standard attack or two just to make sure your unit is lined up with your desired foe. You can tell what enemy your controlled unit is targeting by looking for a very faint red circle on the ground. Standard auto attacks do have some tracking because you don't have full control of where you aim at all times. Take advantage of this tracking to make sure you don't waste your valuable skills or miss your force strike attacks. Tip number 7. Get to know the mana circle. The mana circle is a very important part of your adventurer's progression. It has nodes for getting extra attack, HP, and for upgrading skills. I know it may seem daunting at first, but here's my advice. In the upper tiers of the mana circle, you can preview what skills a unit gets access to. Some skills gain extra effects on their second upgrade, and that can make a big difference. For example, Orsim's second skill, Triple Sao Cow, does water damage to surrounding enemies. Well, if we look at Triple Sao Cow level 2, it also gains the ability to inflict freeze without fail. Orsim doesn't just have damage, he can bring a little utility to the team. The reason I bring this up is to help you determine if you want to use a new character. Not everyone gets an extra effect on their upgraded abilities, but it's still nice to look out for. If you've made it this far, the best advice I want to share with new players is to not ignore the castle. When you unlock the castle, you will gain the ability to place buildings that can net you passive gold and dragon fruit. Later on, you will get elemental altars that boost your unit stats. You will also get the smithy. You can level up all of these buildings, and it's absolutely key to always be building. Here's why. Once you start getting to the mid-game, you will need to craft better weapons. To craft better weapons, you will need to level up the smithy. To level up the smithy, you will need to level up the Halidome Castle itself. To level up the castle, you need to reach a certain facility level. What is facility level exactly? Well, it's the combined level of all of your structures. If your 1 gold mine is level 3 and your dragon fruit tree is level 2, that's a facility level of 5. You will need to reach a facility level of 40 and then 100 to upgrade the smithy to new ranks. It only gets worse after that. Don't worry too much. As you level up your account, you get access to more gold mines and new structures. Since upgrading a building takes time, it means you should always be building something if you can. You start off with 2 dragon builders, but you can purchase more with Wormite. I suggest buying a 3rd dragon builder once you realize you need more facility levels, and then maybe a 4th one if you want to. Keep in mind, upgrading buildings cost materials and gold, which means you then need to farm up those materials, and most of the time, you need the same materials for upgrading your adventurer's mana circle and other things. This should demonstrate just how much grinding there is in this game. There is so much more I want to share, but the best way to learn is to play for yourself. Remember, Dragalia Lost is a brand new game, and players are still trying to figure things out. I know gacha games love their tier list, but I think outside of a few outliers, every unit will perform about the same. It really does come down to a player's skill in a lot of cases. I'm planning to do a video about all the various weapons in the game, and I also want to share my first-hand experience about a few units I have. If that type of stuff interests you, then stick around. If you are new to this channel, then know that I mainly post about Fire Emblem Heroes, and will continue to do so. If I continue to play Dragalia Lost, then chances are good I'll also continue to make videos about it. Thanks for watching, I'll see you in the next one.